Week 6 of the NFL season wrapping up quite nicely here on this Sunday. Welcome into Game Day Recap, where we take you through all of the action from Sunday's games. So let's talk about some of these scores, right? The Jets go overseas and still come away without a win. There's some trouble there with Aaron Glenn. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. In the meantime, little revenge tour. Rico Dowdle told the Cowboys to buckle up. They did not. Spoiler alert. We'll get into how Bryce Young and the Panthers were able to pick up another win here. No charging in South Florida, Pete Prisco. They get a big win thanks to Justin Herbert. And, of course, the Rams survived both a injury scare to Puka Nacua and that really bad Baltimore defense. So let's go ahead and introduce you to the crew like we do every single weekend. We've got our dual threat in the backfield, our 1-2 punch of Damien Harris and Carthon. We've got our equal opportunity hater in Pete Prisco, although you've been kind of positive. I'm wondering if you're going to
Who blocks for who in that backfield?
I do the blocking.
I'll take my name in the paper. I ain't mad at it.
Smart man.
Hey, fullbacks get Pro Bowl votes too.
They do now. They do. Easier pass to the Hall of Fame too. Hey.
All right, guys, let's get focused here. Let's get centered because we had a really exciting one in that late window between the 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is Baker Mayfield and the crew standing strong. I know we're going to dive into a couple of different angles from this one, but Pete, I'll come to you first because there was a moment when Baker Mayfield rushed. It was like third and forever, and Baker Mayfield took off, got the third down, and you said that's the MVP moment right there. How does Baker and this banged up Bucs team continue to get it done?
You know, they said on the broadcast that he was throwing to his fourth, fifth, and sixth receivers. No, he wasn't. He's throwing to his fifth, sixth, and seventh receivers because all four, the top four guys are out in the second half. And to make that run in that moment, it was 3rd and 15, and he got a first down. And the way he got the first down, scrambled out of the pocket, had to dive headfirst across the first down marker, and then extends the drive. And then you go get points. The guy's playing at an MVP level. He's phenomenal. What they're doing without 5 starters on the offense, 5 starters, 2 on the offensive line, 2 receivers, and Bucky Irvin, what they're doing is incredible, and it's a testament to him as a player.
Yeah, they say big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And when you look at Baker Mayfield's career, wherever he's been, that's exactly what he's done. He's a catalyst for grit, determination, and just not being denied what you want. I mean, Pete, you're sitting here talking about he's playing with guys that have started time on the practice squad, on other teams, were signed at the deadline, and he's still just willing these guys to victory like we just saw on that third down conversion. That's who Baker Mayfield is. When you bring that to a locker room that has talent and even a lack thereof, whenever you've got a lot of guys hurt, he just continues to find ways to deliver. He keeps producing wins, and like Pete said, he is playing at an MVP level right now.
Here's a word I don't like to throw around a lot: franchise quarterback. Because to me, there's a different label. When you get franchise quarterback, that means regardless of what's going on around you, you're going to lift your team to a victory. And I think Baker Mayfield has entered that category of being labeled as a franchise quarterback, because we have a lot of quarterbacks in this league that are good, right? And you win with those guys. You don't win because of. And like Pete said, if you're down to your 5th, 6th, 7th receiver, your 4th or 5th offensive line group, you don't have your starting running back in the backfield, but yet you find a way to win a football game every time. And in the 3rd and 14 moment, we call those gotta have it moments. And they had to have it, and he put it. Remember that YouTube video back in the day, guy playing videos with what was the receiver? Greg Jennings. With a broken leg, you put the team on your back, though. Baker put this team on his back and when he got that first down.
The irony of it is, and I remember sitting there talking to Baker in May, and he said to me, he said, look, they want me to stop running, as reckless as I've been, and try and stay there. The biggest play of that game was him escaping that pressure and running for the first down. Look, you want him safe, you want him on the field, particularly with all the injuries, but at moments like that, he's got to take off and make plays.
Well, and that's kind of what he's built his career around, right? I mean, when we talk about Baker every time on this show, the word gritty comes up, and that's sort of what he demonstrates. And every single week, I always have a different stat about Baker, so here's your one for today. He's now the 3rd quarterback since 1970, guys, with 80-plus passing touchdowns in his first 40 starts after changing teams. So he's doing all of this following Tom Brady. When we look at the playoff picture, I know it's still early, and a lot's going to change since then, but I'm looking at it right here, and the Bucs, currently sit atop the NFC. I mean, Pete, this is kind of what you expected from this team. Are they exceeding your expectations, though, with how they're winning games?
Well, based on all the injuries, they're definitely exceeding my expectations. Look, all their games come down to the last possession. At least, they've won games on field goals. They had to hold off the 49ers here in this one. But the reality is, this team in that division, you look around that division, who's the threat? Is there a real threat? They still get the Saints twice. They still get the Panthers twice, and they get the Falcons at home. That's 5 more games right there that you should win. If you're that good, you should win. So, yeah, I think they're a legitimate threat in the NFC. I thought that before the season. Now, they do need to get guys back.
Sure.
And, you got to get Evans back. You got to get Godwin back. You're going to get Gedeke, the right tackle, back. You're not going to get your right guard back, but you can manage that. But the reality is this team is built to make a deep playoff run.
They are, and they are doing what we gave the Philadelphia Eagles a lot of credit for, which is they just found ways to win ugly ball games. And yes, the Buccaneers, they are in a lot of ugly ball games. But at the end of the day, these lessons that they're learning in winning these close games. Now imagine how much that's going to benefit them when they get their guys back, like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, et cetera, et cetera.
No.
Well, no, he's the leader in interceptions this year.
I'm so sorry.
Every time he just intercepts, he's the leader in interceptions.
I even tried to give the physical this time, so Rand, the floor is yours. What
like
do you
a
think
horse
about
with
the
blinders
Bucs?
on.
You sure you didn't play DB? All those interceptions you got? You're stockpiling those.
Sorry.
Here's what I said, and I'm glad Damien alluded to it. I, for one, and I'm holding myself accountable, I gave every excuse to the Philadelphia Eagles and saying they were a championship team. And they were still number 1 in the NFC until otherwise proven. They found multiple ways to win. Well, here's what I'll say. And I'll say this coming away from watching the Eagles play this week. I don't see a connected team. And I think that's hurting them. And we could get into this later. But when I'm watching the Philadelphia Eagles, I see a team that's infected with the disease of me. And regardless, and I'll go look up disease of me and the definition of that, and you can apply all 6 symptoms to the Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't see that with the Tampa Bay Bucs. A different person is called on every week to find a way to win a game. You have not heard any rumblings out of anybody in that organization about how many targets they're getting or the lack of targets. All these guys care about is winning. And I think that starts with their quarterback. It starts with their head coach and who he is as a man and the type of team that Jason Light and his staff have built. And it all starts behind center with Baker Mayfield.
By the way, disease of me is not fatal. I've made it to 65, and I've lived it my entire life.
You're going to put yourself in
Disease of me. I have that. Believe me.
We'll leave it at that. A disease for the Eagles. I do want to get to the other side of this matchup, guys, because it was exciting. And for a while, the 49ers kind of had us believing that they were invincible. But today, it just proved that it didn't. Fred Warner, the big injury coming out of this game, the dislocated ankle. So they're going to be without him for a while. Apparently, the wide receiver, Jawan Jennings, is telling reporters that he's playing with not 1, but 5 broken ribs.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4.
5. In addition to that, apparently he's also got a high ankle sprain and a regular ankle sprain, so pick your ankle there. Tongue in cheek, guys. But Damien, when you look at this 49ers team, how concerned are you? I mean, both quarterbacks at this point are banged up. You got no O-line, the skill players as well. It just seems like every week it gets worse in San Francisco.
There's just got to be a high level of concern, not because what you see on the field, but because you don't see guys on the field. San Fran, they're a superstar-driven team. Their superstars aren't on the field. They're missing guys like Nick Bosa. Now it's going to be Fred Warner. George Kittle hasn't been out there. Like, they're missing all of their guys. What they've been able to do, what they've been able to accomplish up until this point has been nothing short of impressive when you have that many of your key guys out. I mean, we've got to give love and credit to Mac Jones. I mean, again, his second straight game.
He's playing banged up, too.
He is. He's playing banged up, but just like Baker Mayfield, he's picking himself up off the ground. He's gritty. He's tough. He had 2 straight games with 300 yards for the first time in his career. He's playing well, but again, when you don't have your weapons, when you don't have the guys, when you're a team that's based on having the guys, you're not going to play well, and there's reasons to have high levels of concern.
Yeah, so losing Fred Warner, we're talking about a guy who had only missed 1 game in his career leading up until today, and the amount of time that he's going to miss. It's going to be a bigger loss than them losing Nick Bosa. And here's why. Not only is he the captain of your defense, he's the leader of the whole entire football team. He sets the tone. But we saw when Fred Warner went out of that game how the middle of that defense really opened up, because we're talking about a linebacker in coverage that erases mistakes on the back end. right? He's the #1 communicator. Forget the green dot, right? That's the guy that gets to play from the sideline. But we're talking about a guy that communicates with the safeties behind him and the defensive line in front of him. And now, no matter who that person is, no one has called this defense since 2018, since the moment Fred Warner was drafted. And so now you're going to have to put this on one of these younger linebackers who is still now going to have to be able to do their job. But you're going to have to now communicate to a young secondary and help get those guys lined up. And that is just going to be a lot on their plate. So losing Fred Warner could potentially put them in a really bad spot.
When you have stars and you pay stars, it's great because you have 6 of the top 50 players, 60 players in the league. But when they're not on the field, then it puts a lot of pressure on those backups who are usually young and inexperienced and cheap. And that's what you're going to see with the 49ers. Think about the start. George Kittle's one of, if not the best tight end in the league, one of the best tight ends in the league. Same with Bosa, one of the best pass rushers in the league. Warner is the best off-the-ball linebacker in the league. And Purdy is moving himself into that conversation as one of the better young quarterbacks in the league. They're not there. They're not there. And when they're not there, it's hard to win in this league, and it puts a lot of pressure on young players to step up, particularly on that defensive front. They pressure Baker Mayfield today a little bit. They got after him, but you got to consistently get guys like that on the ground. I'm worried about the 49ers. But having said that, let's not forget, about a week and a half ago, they went to the Rams and beat the supposed best team on its way to the Super Bowl. So I think, we got to temper it a little bit. It's a hard situation. You go on the road, you come back, you go back out on the road again, have all those injuries.
But in personnel, this is how you make your money, right? Because it's easy to play and I'm going to say easy to win games when you have your superstars out there. But when all these people are missing, now we're talking about the bottom of the roster. We're talking about depth. We're talking about being able to sign guys off of the practice squad, poach guys from other teams' practice squads. But this is how John Lynch, this is how R.J. Gillen, this is how Tariq Ahmad, this is how these guys in their front office have made their hay in this league. I don't think that they're out of it because this is a Kyle Shanahan coach team. And I was shocked, completely shocked earlier this week when I looked and saw that Kyle Shanahan has never won Coach of the Year. And prior to this game, I thought he should have been the #1 candidate going into it as Coach of the Year candidate because of how they've won games without so many people. Now let's see if they can continue this because they're going to get some of these guys back. But again, not having Nick Bosa and Fred Warner on the field, I don't know the last time that's happened.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of when Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year a few years back, whenever they were having all the quarterback and the injury issues, and that's what we think of when we think of Coach of the Year. So great point there, Rand. We do got to hit a break here on Game Day Recap, but when we come back, we're talking about 2 quarterbacks that are operating higher than expectations. Daniel Jones looking like an MVP, the 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers continuing to break records. But are we convinced that they're contenders? That's what we're discussing next on Game Day Recap. Man, we got a lot of talking going on across the NFL right now, but here is where the NFL playoff picture stands. If the postseason were to begin today, we talked about the Bucs being atop the NFC. The Packers maybe haven't looked as frightening as we thought they were going to be. They get the 5 seed there. The Lions in action currently, but they currently sit at 2. On the other side, though, here's where things get kind of weird because the Colts currently holding on to the 1 seed in the AFC. The Patriots squarely in the postseason picture as well, too. A big win for Drake May over the Saints. Certainly a lot to talk about, including the Steelers. So we're going to get into all of that as we welcome you back here to Game Day Recap. And fellas, I want to pick the conversation up with the Colts because it seems like every week we're reaching for reasons as to why this team has been successful. They continue to win. Daniel Jones continues to operate well. He and Peyton Manning, now the only quarterbacks in franchise history to have led a Colts team to a 5-1 record. So, I mean, he's doing pretty good, Pete, but one thing that we talked about was the schedule. I get it, because when you look at who they've won, it's kind of not convincing.
And also, please never mention Daniel Jones in the same sentence with Peyton Manning.
I have to. That's what the numbers are telling me, Pete. He and Peyton Manning have led Indianapolis to a 5-1 start this century. That's the 2 quarterbacks that have done it.
I get it. We have to mention it, but it's almost, come on, let's not do that. But the reality is they've won the games they've had to win. And that's all you do. You play your schedule and hope you win. Now, having said that, when you look at who they beat, Dolphins stink. Titans, no offense, stink. Stink. The Raiders aren't very good.
They stink.
And the Cardinals, who they beat without their starting quarterback today. So, and they beat the Broncos on that field goal or whatever late in the game should have lost that game. So when the reality is we don't know how good they are yet. But all they're doing is winning the games in front of them. Next week, we see a big challenge for them at the Chargers. We'll know more about the Colts when they go play the Chargers. And so far, I'm not going to criticize. You guys played in the league, you know. You just do what you're supposed to do. And what they're supposed to do is win the games on their schedule, and so far they're doing it. So you got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, in this game, even to start in pregame, you lose your starting corner in Mooney Ward to a concussion in pregame, and then your backup quarterback fractures his orbital bone
Wild
warming
situation,
up.
by the
So,
way.
like, these are all things you can't account for, right? But they steadied the ship and found a way to win a football game. We're looking at a team, we're talking about them being 4 for 4 in the red zone. That matters the most, right? Because they were 50% on third down today, 4 of 8. But to get points, to get touchdowns in the red zone, that's what matters the most. And you have that animal in the backfield. You turn around, you hand him the ball. You had a total of 150 yards on the ground. Again, another performance for Daniel Jones where it's not all on him. There are times where he has to make a play, he has to make a throw, and he comes through. But again, he is surrounded by a ton of talent. And then that defense is built to play with the lead and be able to go hunt with that defensive front that they have, and that's what they were able to do today.
I'm glad you brought up Jonathan Taylor because he's clearly the best running back in the league. And I think that when we look at this Colts team, and we're a little unsure of how good they really are compared to the competition that they've played, but when they start playing tougher games, what are they going to do? They're going to keep leaning on that bell cow in the backfield who has a league high 35 missed tackles. He's leading the league in rushing. He's in the top 2 or 3 in total touchdowns. I mean, when things get hard, when the going get tough for Daniel Jones, for the Colts, they're going to hand the ball to their workhorse franchise back, who is Jonathan Taylor. And he will allow Daniel Jones to continue to do what he's doing right now, which is, like Rand just said, make the throws that he has to make the plays that are just out there that need to be made. Most of the work is going to come from this ground game. That is what Indianapolis has hung their hat on for a very long time, since they drafted, even before they drafted Jonathan Taylor. So I think the reemergence of him as being the best back in the league and it being on display, that's going to help this Colts team when they get into a little bit of muddier waters throughout the season.
How much do you think coaching has played a part in the season that the Colts have had this year? Because I can remember a time last year where we were talking about Shane Steichen's job being on the line, and now they're sitting here at 5-1, and they've got a serviceable quarterback and an offense that's really working, Rand.
Yeah, so it's one of those deals, particularly with Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones kind of had whatever happened in New York, right? And then he goes to Minnesota, and he gets to spend time with KOC. We calling him the quarterback whisperer now, right? Because a lot of guys have gone there and kind of resurrected their careers. But now Shane Steichen has a quarterback that can run his system and everything he wants to do in his system. Whereas you take an Anthony Richardson, and Shane Steichen doesn't get let off the hook because he was there when they drafted him and a part of drafting him. But we're talking about a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson that had never called a play in the huddle until he got to the National Football League. And then for him to be thrusted into this offense where there's a lot on his shoulders, he wasn't quite ready for it. But now you bring in a veteran quarterback in Daniel Jones who can handle all this, having came under David Cutcliffe's tutelage. This has been a great fit, and Pete talks about it all the time. The fit matters for these quarterbacks, for any player for that matter, but fit matters, and I think Daniel Jones has found the perfect fit for himself.
Before we get all excited about the Colts, and I mean, look, they've done a nice job so far.
Yeah.
But let's not
here we
forget.
go.
Well, let's not forget the backup quarterback threw for over 300 yards, was on the 10-yard line at the end of the game, taking shots to go win the game on a team that last week lost at home to the Tennessee Titans. Okay, so that's who they beat today. So yeah, we give them credit for the win. They did just enough. But again, it's not been as pretty as that record would indicate. They have work to do to prove to me, and this is the week. Go to the Chargers, beat the Chargers, and I'm going to sit here next Sunday and I'm going to applaud you and say,
you're
for real.
He won't.
Remember when I started the show by saying Pete hasn't been spicy enough for us? There he is.
All he needed was
for
the
real.
cameras to turn
You
on.
win next week, I'm going to sit here and say you're for real.
And you know what's so crazy, though, as he sits here and says all this stuff? Pete is one of the main guys, because Pete is a smart guy. He's realistic. For everybody at home that wants to know, he's a realistic guy. Pete's one of the main guys that will sit here and tell you how hard it is to win football games in the National Football League. He will tell you that up and down all day long. And so now we're having a conversation about, well, I mean, before we get too excited, I mean, let's just look at the list of competition. It is so hard to go 1-0 every single week in the National Football League because you are playing against the best of the best. So I will tip my cap to the Indianapolis Colts for the job that they have done so far in doing just that.
Did that feel like you were looking in a mirror there for a second? A pretty good little Pete Prisco impersonation.
I didn't mind that.
It was not bad.
Pete is our resident told you so guy.
Yes.
He's got to have that one default thing in there to say, I told you so.
You know why?
It's all right, man.
No, you know
It's all
why?
right. It's
Like
all right.
I always say, there's quarterbacks that are playing at this level, and then sometimes they go down to that level. But if you're usually a middle-of-the-road quarterback, you'll find your way into that level.
What do you say? What do you say
are what
every
you
week?
are.
There you go.
Are what you are. There it is. We're going to get that on a T-shirt, by the way. I wonder how does that change when you look at Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers? Because kind of a similar boat where you look at the schedule and you look at what he's done, and he's done well. 38 passing touchdowns after turning 40, and not a lot of people can say that. But it kind of feels like there's an asterisk in Pittsburgh, Pete.
Yeah, there is a little bit again, but you look at their division. I mean, they're sitting really in a great spot. I mean, who's a threat in that division right now to them? Anybody? Are the Ravens, as they're constructed right now, a threat? Now, if Lamar Jackson comes back and he's healthy and he's Lamar, schedule softens, maybe they become a threat. But right now, there's the difference between the Colts and the Steelers. The Steelers have no threat to them right now in that division. They look like they're going to run away with their own division. How good are they? We don't know. But I will say this, Rodgers has brought life to that team in a lot of ways. I think the players respond to him. I think you're seeing the defense getting better again, and there's questions. You talk about age on a defense, go look at that defense. There's age all over the place, and they're getting better as well. So I still have my reservations about the Steelers, but they will be in the playoffs in large part because they're in that division.
I think they will too. I think that, to your point, Aaron Rodgers has brought a different life and a different energy, and it's kind of surprising at this age and this stage of his career, he's getting guys like DK Metcalf ignited, a coach like Mike Tomlin, who's been around the block for some time, ignited. The only thing I will say, although Aaron Rodgers is playing well, the offense is moving the ball, they're able to run, they're able to throw, they've got DK involved. The biggest thing that sticks out to me is third down. And when you look at it, on third down, today they were 5 of 13, which is not good. They're only 30%. They only have a 36% conversion rate on offense all year long, and that's not good. And especially for a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who's seen every day, every defense, every coverage pattern on third down that you can imagine. And then on the flip side, they're giving it almost 43% conversion rate on defense. Those numbers should be flipped, and that'll be a telltale sign for this Pittsburgh Steelers football team about how good they actually are, and that's going to be a key stat that is going to determine wins and losses as the schedule gets harder as you get closer to the playoffs.
Looking at their schedule here, they're going to take on the Bengals Thursday Night Football later this week, so a short schedule, maybe a test there, but then they've got the Packers, the Colts, the Chargers. Rand, when you think about this team, to Pete's point, it seems like the division race doesn't feel like a problem right now. How do you evaluate this Steelers team in the AFC, given what we just saw from the Colts and some of these other teams that we'll talk about later today? How do you evaluate them?
Yeah, I think to Pete's point, the jury's still out, right? And what you want to see out of them right now is what we're getting in terms of the Ravens are down because Pittsburgh was not expected to be in the hunt in the AFC North, excuse me. But they now have a lead. The Ravens are banged up. And so now you just want to win football games to give yourself enough cushion because you mentioned that schedule and we showed the graphic. They're facing a gauntlet coming up. And now we're really going to see what this team is made of. And Damien talked about it, the third down percentage, but where they've made their hay has been in the red zone. Their red zone touchdown percentage coming into the week was 69%, which was 8th in the league.
One quick question. Do you guys think that the Steelers and Colts are Super Bowl contenders, yes or no?
No.
Okay,
No.
We'll leave it there. We'll wait till next week to see what the Colts can do against those Chargers, and we'll see how you're feeling. But before we get there, got to hit another break here on Game Day Recap. The Chargers, no chargering for them this week, Pete Prisco. Justin Herbert with another game-winning drive, now tied for second when it comes to his career. We'll talk about how they took down the Dolphins and some concerns across the league next. Welcome back to Game Day Recap. Haley Sutton alongside Damien Harris, Rand Carthon, and our guy Pete Prisco. Guys, let's talk about the Chargers, specifically when it comes to Justin Herbert. And I know that Justin Herbert is kind of an acquired taste, if you will. Some people love him, some people love to hate him, whatever it is. He is certainly doing some great things, Damien, out in LA. What did you think about specifically the late run there that Justin Herbert was able to set his team up for success?
It's phenomenal. When you look at what Justin Herbert is doing and you look at the fact that he lost Rashawn Slater for the season, Joe Alda's been out, and then they've done a huge mishmash moving pieces around, trying to find a stable offensive line presence for him, and it's still that he's not the most protected quarterback in the league, and he just continues to deliver, and he continues to win. So when you look at the prototypical quarterback play in the NFL, I don't know if it gets better than what we're seeing from Justin Herbert right now, especially considering the lack of protection that he has. I mean, he's been nothing short of amazing, and he's what keeps the Chargers alive. He is their guy. He's, you know, what we were talking about with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Like, Justin Herbert has been that for the Chargers for a very long time. He just needs to start accomplishing more. That way he'll have something to show for the stats, like, you know, second most game-winning drives since 2022 behind Patrick Mahomes.
No charging today, Pete, for this team, though. What impressed you about what they were able? I know, but
they let Tua go down the field and drive to the game, what should have been the game-winning points, and then they found a way to do it. So, look, you mentioned it, that offensive line, the two tackles who are playing on that offensive line, Bobby Hart and Austin Degulis. Degulis couldn't start for the Houston Texans at tackle. We know how bad their line has been. And these guys are starting, and he's taking a lot of shots, like you mentioned. But somehow they found a way. They don't have the running back, and they found a way. You know, so they bring in a backup who wasn't even on the active roster to start the season, and he comes in and runs wild. So when you look at this team, it's all about Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert deserves it. Look, all the people who criticize Justin Herbert, it's not for what he does in the regular season. Because no matter what he does in the regular season, he's going to have to do it in the postseason anyways. So this is all getting to the postseason, but this is about, right now, it's what he does in the postseason once you get there.
And I'm who Pete is talking about, right? Like, I love the talent of Justin Herbert, right? This is what you want in your quarterback, to be able to bring your team back 18 times and give them an opportunity to win. That play that he made where he shrugged off the sack because he had two guys barreling down on him, that was the second time he did that in that game. It was one on, I think, second down where he was dead to rights, but he was able to get the ball off to live to see another down and help extend the drive. But for me, it's going to come down to, can we see these type of performances in the playoffs when it really matters? And that's where, to me, that's where you make your hay as a quarterback. All these stats during the regular season are great, but they're all for naught if you're not deep in the playoffs and hosting that Lombardi Trophy at the end.
But he did in the playoff game. They lost to Jacksonville. He brought that team to a giant lead. The defense couldn't hold it. So is that on him to not win that playoff game?
Well, no, it's not. But if we make that argument for Justin Herbert, we got to make it for other people we crush. We don't.
I know, but
we don't. We don't.
We might.
We don't.
What do you say about we?
I don't even, like, are y'all talking about y'all? Like, we over here just vibing. Like,
don't put me into that conversation.
I'm chilling.
I'm just getting Pete going today.
He's been getting us all going. Similar question as we wrap up our conversation when it comes to the Chargers, because we know, Pete, that they're going to take on the Colts. I know from the Colts' perspective, you're looking for a lot from them. But something we talked about last week was if this team, if they bamboozled us early, right? Talking about the Chargers specifically. So when you look at their schedule going down the stretch, they've got that Colts game coming up, but then they also have the Vikings, the Titans, the Steelers, the Jaguars, Raiders. It kind of feels like, Pete, that they could make some ground there, especially when you think about, again, the rest of the AFC and what that picture looks like.
Well, and you look at their division. I mean, this was supposed to be the power division of the AFC. And right now, the teams have questions. I mean, the Broncos are atop the division, but they have questions. They can't score a lot of points. That's a major question. So this is a time for the Chargers to make their push. Go, you know, and Jim Harbaugh is a great coach. We know that. So go make your push, win these games, put yourself in a position where you can win those late division games and win a division.
Yeah, same. And I think this is their time to make their push before the schedule gets crazy for them. And you talk about positioning. Now, Charger fans, don't take this the wrong way. I don't know that it matters for them to even have a home game in the playoffs, right? Because all of their home games, it's the visiting team that takes over that stadium. So I don't know that
don't take it the wrong way, but go ahead.
I'm not dissing. I'm just stating facts.
You're dissing.
No, I'm stating facts. But because, again, to me, I don't think that matters for them. To me, when they get into the playoffs, if they make it to the playoffs, it should be about their team and not necessarily where they're playing. Because, like I said, a lot of their home games are dominated by the visiting team.
Okay, don't worry. Don't worry. He's never going to want to work for you guys anyway.
He's the worst, man. He is.
Well, at least one thing we can say about the Chargers, they were the winning team today. They had the better quarterback as well when you look at the numbers. As for that guy over there, a lot of questions still to ask of Tua Tagovailoa. We're going to talk about them when you come back to Game Day Recap. Tua said, look, we're having player meetings and people aren't showing up. We are not winning games. Things just go from bad to worse in South Florida. Inside our CBS Sports HQ studios, this is the Beatles invasion. Why are we showing you the Beatles invasion? That's because our underachievers crew, who you just saw celebrating on your screens, they just hit a 4-leg parlay, anytime touchdowns. It was worth plus 1964, guys, so it cashed out quite well. So that is why we're celebrating. A round of applause for our underachievers there getting the celebration. If they hadn't played two favorites in that, they would have really cashed it. Yeah, I know, right? It could have been much better. With that, we want to take you to our Sunday Night Football action between the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. I will say, guys, that the Lions had a weird trick play that they actually did not capitalize on. There was a rule, illegal motion that we could get into later. But either way, here's how that score stands. Jameson Williams also in on the mix, so we'll keep our eye on Sunday Night Football. We're also keeping our eye on South Florida. Are we on fire watch at this point for Mike McDaniel? Certainly feels that way, guys, after this loss. As you see on your screen, we talked about the Chargers side of it. We talked about Justin Herbert's ability to lead those game-winning drives. What about Tua Tagovailoa? He certainly said some things after the game that were eye-opening. Want to take a listen before we discuss.
I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys, and then what we're expecting out of the guys, right? We're expecting this. Are we getting that? Are we not getting that? We have guys showing up to player-only meetings late, guys not showing up to player-only meetings. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. Do we have to make this mandatory? Do we not have to make this mandatory? So it's a lot of things of that nature that we got to get cleaned up, and it starts with the little things.
A lot to clean up. We got some stuff to clean up here. Pete, I know you love talking about the Dolphins. I've got something to maybe sweeten the deal a little bit. Shout out to our Bryant B-Mac McFadden, who is currently working for us up in Connecticut in our Connecticut station. B-Mac accidentally ordered cookies and got them delivered to us. So we get this lovely spread of Chip City cookies that we will pass along. So shout out to our guy B-Mac here.
2 losses for my guy B-Mac this weekend.
Oh, you said
low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Oh, that was good.
and that season's over.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I had to check in with our resident hater to make sure I was good now.
That season's over, but knowing B-Mac, he didn't pay for those. He had somebody else pay for it.
And now we get to enjoy it. So thanks so much, B-Mac, for that. We'll dive into that in just a little bit. But first, guys, we got to dive into what the heck is going on in Miami. And Pete, I know we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, right? And now it just feels like, because we talk about a culture and all of the things that way, now you have your leader, your quarterback coming out and saying, hey, none of us have accountability. Have they just lost the locker room at this point? What is there to look forward to when it comes to Miami?
Well, I got a question for you. When you played, if you had a players-only meeting, was it mandatory?
Yeah.
Nothing short of.
And did you have to be there on time?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a lack of discipline inside that building. There's no question about that. I've been preaching that forever. When Mike McDaniel took over, he was friend of all. You can't be friend of all. You got to be a coach. And you can play all your music and have your cool shoes and everything else, but you got to have discipline. There's no discipline in the building, and it's bled through. It bled through to the team. It bled through to the players. The leaders can't even get through to the players. That tells you how bad it is. And by the way, they got rid of a lot of the bad guys. Mm-hmm. They got rid of Jalen Ramsey. He was a problem for them. They got rid of him. And so now you still have all these problems. Well, that goes back to the head coach. And I know it sounds like Tua is getting frustrated by the guy above him. And when the quarterback, who's exactly not on strong footing either, starts talking poorly about the head coach, and I think that was directed at him, then I think you have issues. So this could be getting uglier sooner rather than later for Mike McDaniel.
When we have the conversation, though, about Mike McDaniel, we all pretty much are in agreement that this will probably be his last year in charge in South
Will
Florida.
be.
Well, I don't want to say that because we don't know for sure, but it's trending that way. So you can say that.
Yeah.
But the bigger issue, guys, is that they're not winning the big games. And I know that a lot of that is coaching, Rand, but when you look around the room and like you've got your quarterback saying we need to have more accountability, you've got your head coach standing at the podium looking defeated, what does a change, I guess, mean for Miami? Is it you clean house? Does that make a difference for this team? Are we too far gone? I just feel like I have 100 questions in South Florida.
Here's where I want to go, and I appreciate the question, but I disagree with Pete. What Tua Tagovailoa said today after the game, he may have been talking to McDaniels. But Tua, because I did this to Kyler Murray, I called him to the front of the congregation last Monday. I'm calling Tua to the front of the congregation. Everything that you said post-game had to do with players, right? And the last time I checked, you wear that C on your chest, which means you're one of the leaders on this team. So if players aren't showing up to player-led meetings, that starts with you. That has nothing to do with Mike McDaniels. That has nothing to do with Chris Greer. That has nothing to do with anybody that is not in that locker room. That is you, that are your teammates that all wear that C on their chest. That's you guys not holding each other accountable. That has nothing to do with the head coach. And what I see out of Tua Tagovailoa, I've never seen him come to the front and say, I have to play better. When he's questioned about the volume of turnovers, it's him being defensive. What do you mean? I don't turn the ball over.
Don't throw turnovers in bunches.
But you turn the ball over. You don't hold yourself accountable. And in order for this organization to play well and to win football games, you have to lead. And no matter what's going on around you, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. No matter what's going on in the front office, in the media, that's out of the players' hands. Right? And it comes down to you fighting for the man next to you, your brother that's in the huddle, your brother that's across the locker room for you. So don't worry about any of that. It starts with you. You need to look yourself in the mirror and figure out what you need to do as the starting quarterback for this Miami Dolphins franchise to help them win football games. In terms of the head coach's job security, the GM's job security, you do your part. And that starts with you holding yourself accountable, starts with you holding your teammates accountable. Because right now you're passing the buck and you're blaming everyone else and you're calling out your teammates. Call yourself out because it starts with you. Because the last time I checked, along with Mike McDaniel's names that's being ridiculed publicly, along with Chris Greer's name who's being ridiculed, you're third.
It's on that banner. You're correct. On that banner, it is Mike McDaniel, it is Chris Greer, and it is the quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. I want to give you last word here before we move on here. Is there any hope in sight when it comes to the state of this Dolphins team and Tua Tagovailoa?
No. I mean, okay. I'm going to put it this way.
Take a breath.
If the past is the biggest indicator of the future, have we seen anything from Tua to make us confident that there's another step? Have we seen anything from this Miami Dolphins organization? I'm not talking about Mike McDaniel. I'm not talking about Will Grier. I'm talking about from the Miami Dolphins organization. Have we seen anything to make us confident that there are steps to be taken or that there's moves to even be made? I mean, I love Pete's point when you talk about if you fire Mike McDaniel right now, what is that going to do? If you get rid of Will Grier, what is that going to do? Nothing.
Chris
Greer. Excuse me. I might have said Will Grier twice.
Will Grier might be starting for him.
We might see Will Grier.
Honestly, it's like my brain is like, just go to somebody, start getting other people in here. But I think in all seriousness, not speaking tongue-in-cheek anymore, they've got to start over. They have to start from ground zero. They have to reinvent their formula for winning, for having discipline, for having a foundation. They have to start from absolute ground zero. I don't know if that's going to be with Tua. I mean, you would think contractually they're obligated for it to be him.
For one more year at least.
For one more year at least. But to your point, Tua's name, I feel like I've heard his name thrown around a little bit more than Greer's name. He's right there neck and neck with Mike McDaniel. So don't think that you're so safe in, part of what Rand is talking about and throwing everybody else under the bus and bringing everybody else to the front and saying, okay, listen, I hope you guys are listening. I hope you guys are seeing what we need to do here. No, Tua, you are one of those guys also. So, again, with that being said, the Miami Dolphins, they just need a fresh start.
Need a fresh start. You see the numbers there on your screen. His 5th career game with 3 or more interceptions. So certainly a lot to be concerned about if you are a South Florida fan. Also some things to be concerned about if you're the Ravens, guys. I don't think anyone is surprised really to see the results. We kind of knew that Cooper Rush could only do so much when it comes to this offense. But Rand, when you look at what the Ravens are right now, they are 1-5. There's 4 teams that have made it to the postseason or to the Super Bowl since with that kind of start. They do have the bye week coming up, so a good chance to reset. They'll get Lamar Jackson back hopefully as well, too. A similar question I just asked Damien. Where does the hope lie in Baltimore?
I mean, you got to be encouraged because you're getting Lamar back. And I understand the history of these records, the 1-5 starts and all of those things, but you're getting a 2-time MVP back, which is going to really open up this offense, right, and allow your guys. They got Derrick Henry going today, which was a big step for them, and because he had hit a bit of a lull, and so he goes over 100. But getting Lamar back, that is going to be key. Now, here's the trick to getting Lamar back, because it was a hamstring. So how much are we going to?
We've done that. We're in sync today.
How much are we going to actually see the mobility, and how much is the hamstring going to affect him? But his mere presence on the football field gives this team the confidence that we can win, a football game. And again, you look at this schedule. You're coming off of the bye. You have a bye, which is great. Everyone gets a week to heal, and then you have the Bears, and then you have the Dolphins on Thursday night, and so that's going to get things back rolling. Now, for me, this isn't so much as the question of the offense. It's, can the defense stop anybody?
But they did today. They did a pretty good job today.
I mean,
they turned the ball over.
They did. Matthew Stafford was not excellent today. They disrupted him a little bit.
It was better.
Got in his
It was
face.
better. A step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction.
There we go. But I want to hit on something that you just said, Rand. When you talk about the confidence that having Lamar Jackson back brings to this offense, I know you say, well, are we going to get the same version of Lamar Jackson that we're used to, right? A guy that extends plays with his legs, that is a threat in the run game, may open up some more run lanes for Derrick Henry. They just need him there. Yep. And let's not forget, Lamar Jackson has the highest QBR in the history of the National Football League. So even if Lamar Jackson is playing on one good hamstring and he can't be as electric as he can, you still just want to have him on the field. I would rather have Lamar Jackson, and I'm looking at Pete Prisco right now, everybody.
No,
I'm looking at, I would rather have Lamar Jackson on no hamstrings, throwing the football, than to have Cooper Rush out there fighting for his life.
I'm in agreement, but he's not going to. But a big part of who he is his ability to move and get outside the pocket, and how you defend him is because of his ability to move and get outside the pocket. If he can't do that and he's standing there in the pocket, that's not Lamar Jackson. That's not who he is. And I know he's become a good passer inside the pocket, but it's a lot easier to pass inside the pocket when you have the ability to run outside the pocket.
And that threat of Lamar is what opens those creases for Derrick.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to pass these cookies
please
along.
pass those cookies. B-Mac.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, my boy.
Nice. Thank you once again, our B-Mac.
He didn't get the gluten-free version, so I'm going to go ahead and pass these on. I'm going to go ahead and pass them on.
All right, we'll find you some
Pass the peas like we used to do.
Buy one of those big old chocolate chip cookies, man. Look at that.
We're going to enjoy some cookies. Again, we're going to enjoy this because I'm not going to enjoy this next block. The Cowboys falling to the Panthers on the road. What went wrong? We'll tell you next.
Rico, if your message last week was buckle up to the Cowboys, what's your message after the game?
They weren't buckled up.
Short, sweet, and to the point. Look, they were buckled up. He told them, this is why I respect Rico and I miss him so much in Dallas, because listen, he said, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to have a big game, so you guys better be ready. And when they didn't answer the call, he said, I told you so. So, I mean, just to contextualize what Rico Dowdle was able to do for the Panthers today, 4 touches for 239 scrimmage yards in his first game against his former team. That's just one of like 7 different stats that we have on him. I defer to my running backs here. Dame, I'll come to you first. Revenge game, yes, but even bigger than that, the performance from Rico against his former team.
I mean, this is 2 weeks back to back, and then obviously doing it against your former team. I mean, this is we're watching a guy build confidence and gain confidence as an NFL superstar almost, if like right in front of our eyes. And granted, I don't want to put him there yet, but when you got 2 straight games with 200 scrimmage yards as a running back, playing God's position, you making a name for yourself. And then to stick it to Jerry Jones and the people that you came from obviously makes it taste a little bit sweeter. But, I mean, you look at these numbers, 386 scrimmage yards in 2 games, the most in Panthers history. So not only is he sticking it to his old team, but he's also arrived in Carolina and said, look at what I can do. Just look at what I can do. And again, making a name for himself, super stellar performance today. And that's what the Panthers need right there.
And I'll say this, that he's getting a lot of this playing time, obviously, because Chuba Hubbard has now been out for 2 weeks. And so, Rand, when you think about what Chuba did last year, right? This kind of feels like copy and paste of what he did, where he came in and he earned the extension and then he gets hurt. It's next man up. Is it a good problem, I guess, to have for when Chuba comes back? I don't want to take away from Rico's moment too much here, but how does that get a little bit different as the season goes along?
You see, I'm nodding my head. I wrote the note. Chuba Hubbard. What do you do when he gets back? You got to ride. You got to continue to ride the hot hand, right? And then find some mix and match formula where you're playing with both of them. And if there's any organization that has a history of being able to play two guys and maximize the ability of two running backs out of the backfield, it's the Carolina Panthers. We saw Jonathan Stewart's name on that list. He and D'Angelo Williams, they shared the backfield. Both went for 1,000 and became catalysts for what that offense was. Can we get the same production out of those two when Chuba Hubbard is back? Because right now, there's no way you could take Rico Dowdle off the field.
Running back,
This is why I didn't
put one in, running back, put one in. Look, Rico Dowdle's been really good.
Okay.
Really good. But, and this is the but, do you realize that these two games have come against the team that's last in rushing defense and the team that's 29th in rushing defense?
There he is.
The holes have been cavernous. And he just, look, he's taken advantage of it. Kudos to him. And I'm with you. I'm keeping him in there. But let's be real. The Miami Dolphins can't play run defense. The Dallas Cowboys haven't played run defense since Randy White was in that defensive line. It's been a long time since they've been good. Well, I mean, the Cowboy dynasty teams played great run defense. But this Cowboys team can't stop anybody in the run game, and neither can the Dolphins. So you got to temper it a little bit, but he's done it. He's gone out and done it. The holes have been big, and he's taken advantage of it.
Wait, Haley, isn't this why they got rid of Micah Parsons, was to improve the run defense?
You said it, not me. It is certainly
Yikes.
interesting, some of the business decisions that Jerry Jones has made to this point. By the way, I think I said earlier 4 touches for 239 yards. He had 34 touches. I was missing a number on my paper. That would be incredible. Touches for 239
Honestly, I was like, wait, did I miss something?
And as soon as I said it, I was like, let me go back.
But
So
against
it's
that
34
Cowboys
touches.
defense, that might not have been impossible.
Right, so let's talk about the Cowboys defense, right? Because it's so hard as a fan. Like, I couldn't even watch the game beginning to end because I kind of knew what to expect, right? We have these numbers. The Cowboys have 104 points, no turnovers, a 1-1-run record over their last 3 games, and yet they're not winning because their defense is so egregious. And so I guess from the fan perspective here, Pete, how should Cowboys fans be feeling about this team? Is there confidence that they can fix the defense, or did today just prove that this is kind of just a trial by error every week?
I mean, they've given, in the last 3 games, they've given up an average of 174 rushing yards per game. You're not winning a lot of games in the NFL when your defense is just getting mauled up front. So I don't know what you can do. I mean, they've drafted, Mozzie Smith was a first-round pick. It hadn't worked out. They've spent money on defensive linemen. It hasn't worked out. Their linebackers have always been a little undersized. It hasn't worked out. The bottom line is, I don't know what they can do differently to try and stop the run, because let's face it, if they load up to stop the run, they don't exactly have the greatest man-to-man cover corners on the outside either. So it's a problem however you play it, and I don't see this run defense getting any better.
Can I encapsulate that in what Pete Prisco normally just says to a question like that to a Cowboys fan? You are what you are, and the Cowboys are a bad defense. There is no hope.
So then let me ask this, and I'll pose this question to the 3 of you, because after the game, Brian Schottenheimer was asked about his defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, and how much he supports. And of course, Brian in that moment is going to say, we support the defensive coordinator and the decisions that he's making. But Rand, at some point, you kind of got to look in the mirror and you got to say where the problem's coming from. It's coming from this unit. I'm not saying that we should fire Matt Eberflus by any stretch, but I guess to Pete's point, is there any changes that he can make, whether it's personnel, whether it's scheme? Is there anything that he can do to sort of make up for the fact that we got rid of Micah Parsons?
Well, I'll say this, because I'm looking at the Cowboys defense, their rankings coming in. They were ranked in the bottom 3rd in 10 categories coming into this game, 10 categories. Eberflus's scheme has been the scheme he's run everywhere he's been, right? Even, well, he was hired early, but anyway, it isn't the scheme problem. It's the personnel problem.
Correct.
And they don't have the players. So that's not a Brian Schottenheimer issue. That's not a Matt Eberflus issue. That is the person making those decisions issue. And we talk about you're dead last in total yards per game. You're dead last in passing yards allowed per game. Pass play yards per attempt, 3rd down efficiency, and then you're 31st in the league allowing in terms of allowing explosives. Like, that is the one that gets you gets you killed, because even if you have a team backed up, you're still giving up explosives at a high rate, and so you can't win football games like that. But then if you like I'm sliding over my screen, and then you look at this Cowboys offense, and they're ranked in the top third
really
in a lot of categories.
Real quick, everybody wants to point to the Micah Parsons trade. If Micah Parsons is on this defense as it's constructed right now, they're still getting gashed in the run game, and it kind of neutralizes who he is as a pass rusher. They can talk all they want about Parsons would save this, Parsons would do that. No, he wouldn't. He's not great when the run comes right at him either. They would still have problems.
Well, I don't think it's as much about would Micah Parsons solve this problems. It's more about Jerry Jones' comment and saying we got rid of him so we could fix the problem. Well, it's the exact same.
And that's what I was going to say too, and that has not helped. And we know that we will never get to the bottom of why Jerry Jones truly did that. So we're going to move along and talk about the Seahawks, fellas, because we are just seeing the emergence of Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He is just becoming one of the funnest wide receivers to watch in this league. He's also young, Damien. There's so much upside here. When you look at what the Seahawks were able to do today, particularly the relationship between him and Sam Darnold, this feels lethal for a division that can get kind of wild down the stretch.
I mean, I'm almost going to sound like a broken record, because everything I'm about to say about Jaxon Smith-Njigba is exactly what I said about Emeka Egbuka last week. And we talked about how similar they are in style, how they play, the way that they motivate their teams, the relationships that they've developed at an early age with their veteran quarterbacks. That is a model of success right there. When you have young guys that enter the NFL and are pro level ready, not just skill, but I'm talking about being a pro's pro, knowing how to show up and handle and conduct your business, and they marry their quarterback, their veteran. They develop a relationship to where they know. Sam Darnold knows exactly where Jaxon Smith-Njigba is going to be when he needs to be there. He knows how he wants Sam Darnold to sit in zone. He knows how he's going to get open versus man. That relationship from a young player to an old veteran quarterback, that's when you have something special. And again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have guys like Jaxon Smith-Njigba who are NFL ready from the time they step foot in their organization.
Seahawks getting it done on the road. That was their ninth straight road win. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the first player in Seahawks history with 125-plus receiving yards, a receiving touchdown in back-to-back games. So he is really coming alive. I want to talk about the Patriots as well. I know I just made you talk about the Seahawks, but Ran, I want to talk to you about what Drake May has been able to do, because there's been questions about whether or not he can be a franchise quarterback for that team. After what you saw from him today, are you a believer in Drake May?
I am a believer in Drake May.
MVP. Okay.
MVP. That's how you're feeling? MVP. I'm sorry, Rams. Go ahead. Sorry.
You gotta wait.
I was gonna say he just wants to be able to come back to Foxborough and get a standing ovation. Wave to the crowd.
Yeah, right.
But no, I think the way this young man is playing, and especially when you look at what's surrounding him, their lack of consistency in terms of the running game, and just what he has at the perimeter in terms of weapons at the receiver spot. He doesn't have that true downfield vertical threat, but yet and still he is completing passes at a 70% clip higher. I think he came into this week ranked number 2 in the league at 73% completion percentage. And he just finds a way to get it done, man. And I think they've done a really good job in terms of allowing him to display his skills and run the offense through what he does well.
There you see his passer rating on there. The Patriots guys have now matched their win total from the previous 2 seasons. They are 4-2. They are second in the AFC East, and they are cooking right now in relation to some of these other teams. Pete, the Packers get back on track today as well, but it wasn't as convincing maybe as we thought when they were facing a different Bengals team than what we expected.
A lot of guys out of that lineup. I mean, they are so banged up with injuries, and again, they're kind of disjointed because of that. Coming off the bye, at least the defense was better. I mean, you're playing Joe Flacco, but they were better than they were last time. We saw them against the Cowboys getting carved to shreds. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but until they get all their guys back, and there's a lot of those guys that will be coming back. Christian Watson will be back soon. The offensive line has guys banged up. They started different guys up there as well. So when they get their guys back, I'm not worried about the Packers. They'll be fine.
Real quick question for the table as we go to break here. We saw Joe Flacco. He finished the game 29 of 45, 219 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, including that one to Jamar Chase. That was pretty spectacular. Feels like a loaded question, but are we in a better spot with Joe Flacco than Jake Browning behind center in Cincy?
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about it. He can drive the ball down the field. He can get the ball to those wide receivers down the field. Jake Browning's a backup quarterback. Joe Flacco has been a quality starter in this league.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll see how much better this Bengals team can get with Joe Flacco behind center. In the meantime, we're going to hit a break here on Game Day Recap. A lot of good happened in Week 6, but so did a lot of bad. We heard boos for John Harbaugh last week. Is he on the hot seat? We're breaking down coaches next on Game Day Recap. Listen, our BMAC not very happy that we stole his cookies. We're pretty happy. Each one of us is, well, sorry, Damien, you didn't get a chance to try, but they were really good. The cookies were better than a lot of the coaching we've seen to this point of the season. And of course, we know there are several coaches on the hot seat. So let's break down our concern when it comes to some of those coaches. And we are going to start with a kind of a surpriser, guys. Aaron Glenn out with the New Jersey Jets, but you know what I mean, with the Jets. And it's interesting when we talk about Aaron Glenn, because I think coming into the season, he was the one new coach where everybody felt confident with, right? He's going to an organization that he's familiar with, his mentality, the way he coaches, Pete, and yet here they are. They have still not won a game this year, and even worse than that, the effort just doesn't look like they want to win football games.
The effort was a little better today, I'll give him that, but the end of the half was one of the most confusing things I've ever seen in an NFL game by a coach. You fake a punt on 4th and 1 to pick it up, and then you don't go. You know, they ran out the clock. You're almost at midfield. Try and go get points. It made no sense. And even Garrett Wilson went over to him after as they went in at halftime and started like saying something to him. It just doesn't seem like he understands game and analysis of the game in the moment. I think Aaron Glenn, and by the way, I'm one of those guys that says, anybody who says it's time to get rid of Aaron Glenn, that's just stupid. It's absurd. Let him coach the season. Find out who he is before you start making those assessments. But the in-game decision-making lacked in that moment for me. And I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but for me, it lacked. And I think that's just compounding the problem. He sits there at times and you wonder if he understands what's going on during the game. And this guy's been in the league. He's been a defensive player. He's been a great defensive coordinator. You know, it's just, there's more. Here's the thing. And you guys know, you've been around this game a long time. Guys have to learn how to be a head coach. You're not calling defensive play. You're not just a defensive coordinator anymore. You got to learn to be a head coach, and I don't think he's learned how to be a head coach yet.
I don't think he has either, and I do want to start this by saying I agree with you. I think firing him at this point would be stupid, and it wouldn't get the New York Jets anywhere further than they are now. But to piggyback off of some of Pete's points, when I think of Aaron Glenn, a reason why I was confident that this was going to work is because he seems like a player-type coach, type of player that has such a close relationship with his players that you don't even have to worry if he can motivate them to go out and play with effort and play with a type of energy that can't be matched. And we're not seeing that. But what's more surprising for me is he's a defensive guy. When you look at this Jets defense, you see a lack of tackling, which is absolutely inexcusable, especially in the National Football League. We see scheme that isn't working. We see players that aren't playing their techniques and their gaps and the way that they're supposed to play. And I just wonder why. Because, again, he's a defensive coach. I know that he's loved in this locker room. Forget that situation with him and Garrett Wilson on the sideline. Those players love Aaron Glenn because he is a player's coach. So I just think when you look at the way that they're playing, the effort that they're playing with, the scheme or lack thereof that they're playing with, you have to point the finger on the head coach. Is it time to fire him, though? No. Let him finish the job.
Let me ask this, because as you were talking, I know, Rand, you've got some thoughts on this as well, but I immediately went to the situation with your Patriots last year, right, where Gerard Mayo was brought in as the head coach. Obviously, circumstances were a little bit different, but at the end of the day, Gerard Mayo did not do a serviceable enough job to keep that head coaching spot. As a result, he was let go after one season. Rand, is there a world where you can see that happening with Aaron Glenn, or you think that they just need to continue to give him more time and hopefully this just sorts itself out?
No, I don't think it happens. I don't think it happens. And here, the Jets have a history of having turnover at this position, and yet here we are again questioning. I think coming into the season, because it was Aaron Glenn, his history with the organization, his history as a defensive coordinator and coach and scout in this league, it came with a little more oomph behind it, right? The hiring. But let's be honest, this team has been void of talent. and it wasn't going to get fixed in this first year. So I think you allow him and GM Darren Muji more time to build their program. You guys have hit on the defense and where you saw the defense, because the majority of the talent on that team was on the defensive side of the football. But for me, I walk away from this week feeling like they don't have direction on offense, because you have a new OC, but then you have a quarterback, and we saw how they looked in week one. Was like, whoa. Don't take, you should take the moral victory. They put up points, and this offense looked good with Justin Fields, but it was like when Justin Fields left and he came back, this offense hadn't been the same. And so they need a direction in terms of how are you going to play Justin Fields. And then you have Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is frustrated because he is being paid like an elite receiver, but not having the opportunity to play like an elite receiver. Teams are taking him out of the football game just by matching their number one their number one corner over there, and they're not going to him. So even from a Justin Fields standpoint, to watching his throws today, he wasn't anticipatory. He wasn't on time. It was like he had to see the guy open to get the ball there. And we know with a guy like Patrick Surtain II, you can't be late with the football. But to me, this team and this offense don't have any direction.
9 sacks. They got sacked 9 times. I mean,
with a mobile quarterback.
And well, he held the ball about in 4 of them. So, I mean, he's responsible for a couple of them, but terrible.
Yeah, not looking good for the Jets, not looking good for the Ravens either, and it's hard to fathom that John Harbaugh is on the hot seat, but Pete, it kind of feels that way, at least to the fan base.
Well, and talking to people up in Maryland, you hear it. It's coming. People are calling for John Harbaugh. They're saying it's gotten stale, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think you could have the reincarnation of Don Shula, Bill Belichick all together in one, and you're not winning with this group the way it is right now. But when Lamar Jackson gets back, if he's the same Lamar Jackson and that schedule softens and they don't start winning games, then you're going to have that conversation. I don't know if you would make that move, but maybe if it gets stale, and you've been around this, and you played for a coach where it got stale, and they fired him. They say everybody gets hired to get fired, and at some point he will be fired. I don't think now is the time.
And you got to obviously take into account the injuries. I know it's no excuses. You play the game that you're dealt, but it is certainly tough sledding. Feels a little isolated there for Jim Harbaugh and the Ravens. I do want to talk about Brian Callahan and the Titans. Just when we thought that the Titans were ticking in the right direction, guys, they kind of fall on their face again. And what was that? Oh, you guys are too
This is when you can actually intercept it, goes right over the top.
Watch this. I'm about to lob my question to Damien. We're going to hopscotch around here. Take me just inside, I guess, the locker room. I mean, when you've got a coach, I'm sure Brian Callahan is a really nice guy, but the reality is he is not helping you win football games. What is that like from a player standpoint and from your analyst standpoint? Is this a job for Brian Callahan?
Well, this is like a conversation that Pete and I had before the show, and it went a little something like this. Everybody loves the backup quarterback. They're your best friend until they actually have to go in and win you a football game. So I compare that to Callahan and saying, yeah, the players might love him. He might be a nice guy, but at the end of the day, they want to win because they know if they're not winning, they're not going to get paid. Everybody is going to get fired. So as much as you love a guy, as much as you want a guy to be successful for your team, you have to be a little bit selfish sometimes and realize, again, this NFL business that we have, it stands for not for long. My window of opportunity is so small, so I need to maximize that, and I would rather maximize that with a guy who's a dictator that helps me win football games as opposed to a nice guy who we can't really win with.
All right, and we'll put a bow on that conversation and move on by talking about Brian.
What a leap. We're
going to leap right on to our final coaching conversation here. And
Rand, jump on in.
It's the other Brian, which, Rand, I would love for you to talk about, Brian Daboll, because it is so funny to see just the difference in energy now that he's got a quarterback who can actually keep him in games. He got a little wild there Thursday Night Football, going in the medical tent, demanding the doctors get his guy. So obviously there's still some things that you got to act like you've been there before. But did Jaxon Dart, how much did it save Brian Daboll from the hot seat? Did it save it at all? How are you feeling about Brian Daboll's status as a head coach going forward?
I think adding Jaxon Dart, adding Cam Scatterbo to this lineup has helped reignite this Giants team and the fan base for that matter. So Brian Daboll, I want to have me a coach that looks at me the way Brian Daboll looks at Jaxon Dart.
He loves Jaxon Dart.
And he had, I don't know if it was it definitely wasn't a coach-player moment. That was a father-son moment of him running to the tent to check on his baby the other night.
Well, he saw Russell Wilson. He saw 2 plays from Russell Wilson, and he was like, "My boy, we need you."
And I'd have pulled him out of there too if I saw Russell Wilson go back out there.
Don't do that, Pete. Stop. But I think this is why they went up to go get the kid, right? And there were a lot of questions as to why and who they passed on and all those things. We won't go down that road. But this is why they did it. Brian Daboll has a quarterback now that he believes can run everything he wants to do offensively, and not only the quarterback, but the running back has infused not only this offense but this entire team with energy, and now it has the fan base excited. And so I think he's safe. Now we have to play out the rest of the season and see how it goes, but I think at this day and time, the end of week 6, he's safe.
Better boost for that offense, Cam Scatterbo or Jaxon Dart?
No, Jaxon Dart. There's no question about it. And by the way, Jaxon Dart is going to be the reason that Brian Daboll is back, because you're not going to want to make a change with the offense. And he's brought life to this team. And he still runs way too much. He still doesn't allow plays to develop, but he's brought life to the team, and he's going to save Daboll's job.
All they do is just bang their heads together and run into walls and shake their head.
Somebody said they communicate like pit bulls.
This is the Giants' backfield.
That's it. There's some weird stuff going on in New York, but it is working for the Giants. All right, got to hit another break here on Game Day Recap, but when we come back, we talked about the 49ers injuries, why someone here on this panel has them as their loser for the week. We'll tell you next. Speak now or shut up. We are talking winners and losers, Week 6 edition. No, you cannot change your winner or your loser at this point of the season because we got 8 minutes left to go in the show. So with that, let's get to it. Let's talk about it as we wrap up the show here. Winners and losers. Pete Prisco, I'm coming to you first. Who's your winner?
Reclamation projects at quarterback position. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Right now, Baker Mayfield would be my MVP, and I have a vote, so right now he would be the MVP.
Flexing on us.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say you might as well brush your shoulders off while you at it. That's 65 right there.
Yes, damn right it is. Baker Mayfield's been phenomenal. 12 touchdown passes, 1 pick on the entire season, despite the fact that he's been playing with nothing but backups at wide receiver for most of the season. Offensive line has been a mishmash the whole season. Today was great. He had the run on 3rd and 14, got the first down. He made big-time throws to guys named Johnson who weren't even a part of the offense when the season started. So now you go to the other guy, Sam Darnold. You know what he's averaging? 9.5 yards per attempt. In a league where nobody's throwing the ball down the field, Sam Darnold's throwing the ball down the field, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. They're my winners.
I'm going to go Kamani Vidal, running back. You talked about it. He started the year on the practice squad, came up today and ran for 124 yards on 18 carries and had a touchdown reception. Talk about last year, he played in 10 games, had 155 yards rushing on the season, and ended today with 124. So you, young man, are my winner of the week.
I'm going Patriots.
Homer.
More specifically,
he that out.
He couldn't.
That's why you're proud of the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm proud of the Patriots. I'm going to say more specifically Drake May. He is playing at an MVP caliber level. He is leading this New England Patriots organization similar to what the man that they're trying to get him to be in number 12, Tom Brady. They have got a guy who they trust to get them back to where Tom took them, and he is doing just that. He beat Josh Allen on primetime football at Josh Allen's game, running and throwing the football all over the yard. Listen, the Patriots are a playoff team. They are a better football team than they have been in the past. It's because of Drake May. They are my winners. My
winner today is Bryant B. Mac McFadden for accidentally sending us cookies. So I will give that to B. Mac. In all seriousness, no, I'm going Rico Dowdle. Incredible game, incredible performance, revenge tour there. My loser for the day is the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's no way you can put up 30 against the Chiefs and then turn around and have 12 points in that game. No good for me. Who's your loser? My loser is San Francisco 49ers, specifically their defense, the loss of Fred Warner. Listen, you can't duplicate the communication. You can't duplicate the production. You can't duplicate the heart that Fred Warner has, and him being the heartbeat of this, not just the defense for San Francisco, but the entire team and the entire community. That's a huge loss, and I don't know how they're going to do without him. New York Jets offense, I'll shorten this list that I wrote, but no snaps in the red zone today. You didn't score a touchdown after your defense held the team to 14 points. Oh, and by the way, you only had 82 yards and gave up 9 sacks. And mine's on the other side of the field. I'm going to go with Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix in the passing game, we thought they arrived last week against the Eagles in the second half, did some great things. 174 yards passing, not enough down the field. 1 completion over 20 yards. If they don't get more out of the passing game,
they are not going to be a true threat to win the AFC. They have to throw the ball down the field.
All right, well, that'll do it for our Week 6 edition of Game Day Recap. I'm going to finally eat my cookie. I feel like I've just been holding it this whole time because I've been talking to you guys.
Crush mine.
You did. What cookie did you have?
He had a
I had
chocolate
chocolate chip.
How was it?
It was great. Thank you, B-Mac.
I tasted that. That one was pretty good.
This one's good.
Sensational.
Okay, I'm going to try this cookie. I'm told we have 30 seconds, so I'm going to try this one. You had chocolate chip.
I had chocolate
This is
chip.
white chocolate macadamia.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm getting it all over the table. It's good.
B-Mac,
Thank you, B-Mac.
Send us some more next week.
Send us some more next
Every week. It's on you, B-Mac.
Gluten-free,
I want
please.
Oatmeal raisin. Damien needs gluten-free. We'll send you your
I'll take
order.
oatmeal raisin too.
We'll see you next Sunday here on Game Day Recap, 8:20 Eastern.
If it's free, it's